Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I don't want to alarm or frighten anyone, but it turns out that John Swinney has been caught telling lies again. Big tall tales. He's opened his mouth and he's told an untruth. And I know, stunning, isn't it? I wonder how many people will be completely astonished by that. Now, he is, of course, an exceedingly desperate man because he knows he will be personally accountable should the SNP have a really bad election. And I think the SNP are undoubtedly going to have a really bad election. So he is in deep, deep doggy-do, isn't he? So what's he doing? Well, he's desperate. He's got to reach out and grab at anything he can to stop himself drowning in a sea of failure. And so he's grabbing for this, grabbing for that, and just telling whatever lies come to his mind. And this particular lie is all about the EU. And he, in a meeting yesterday, told the gathered faithful there that should Scotland go independent, because that's all they think of, they don't think of what they can do for Scotland now, they just live in this little world of the future. But should an independent Scotland ever come into existence, which it won't, it would be really easy for Scotland to, in his words, rejoin the EU. Now, the big problem there, of course, is Scotland can't rejoin the EU because Scotland was never a member of the EU. I'd like Mr. Swinney to show me the law, the paperwork, whatever the treaties were that allowed Scotland to be a member of the EU, because I don't remember it, and I certainly don't remember seeing the saltire flying as all the with all the flags of the nations. I do remember the Union flag because the UK was a member, and indeed, should the people of the UK have a referendum, decide, oh, you know what, well, let's go back in, it could happen in a reasonably quick time, because we're still subject to an awful lot of their rules anyway. And of course, the pound is, weirdly, still a recognised EU currency as part of the Brexit agreement. And so there's all sorts of ways, and it'd be relatively simple, a few negotiations and things, but it'd be relatively simple for the United Kingdom to come back in to the EU. Scotland, not so much, because Scotland has never been in the EU. And if Scotland was an independent country, it would be coming in as a third-party country. Now, in order to get in, it's got to fulfil a list of things it must do to qualify. And these are called acquis communautaires, I think is the title. There's 35 of these things. And there's all sorts of things they've got to have. They've got to be recognised as an independent country, not only by the country they've left, the rest of UK, but also by every single member state currently within the EU. And there's no guarantee that that will happen, number one. Number two, under the claims of what they want with an independent Scotland, and what Swinney and Sturgeon before, they've all said, is that, oh, well, of course, we'll just continue using the pound. What an excellent idea. Use a strong international currency. You'll have no say over how its interest rates are, or anything like that, or its exchange rates. You'll just use it as a third party. It won't be your currency. And thereby lies a problem, because even though the pound itself is a EU recognised currency, it won't be Scotland's currency. Scotland will, by these rules, have to have its own currency. And so it'll have to go to all the problem of setting up a central bank, a central international credit rating agency. It'll have to set up its own stock market. It will have to set up its own exchange rate mechanism, etc., etc., etc. To do this for the Scottish pound. But the Scottish pound will only exist long enough for the EU to accept Scotland in. And at that point, the Scottish pound goes away and they'll just use the euro. over which, of course, they will have no control. It's weird, isn't it? They want independence and they want to give up monetary control. But hey, you know, I don't understand how independent-minded people function as human beings either. But anyway, that's what it is. So they got this. So they've got to go all this trouble of creating all this stuff for their own currency. The thing is, the moment they create the Scottish pound, you know, 100 Nessies to the pound sort of thing, it will plummet in value. We'll tie it to the British pound. Okay, day one, worth the pound. Day two, 80p. By the end of the month, fourpence. Because what's it going to do? What's it backed with? You can't say oil. The S&P got rid of all the oil. And it'll be a worthless currency, you know? These people live in cloud cuckoo land. Anyway, that's only two. That's only 2 of 35 of these acquis communautaires. There's an unbelievable list that they have to go to. And so, should eventually, let's say 30, 50 years from now, Scotland finally get independence, how long do you think it would take for Scotland to join, not rejoin, join the EU? Well, the best estimates are 50 to 80 years after that, because Scotland's debts would be so high, they would have a dead currency that would not be able to pay off those debts at the current rate at which the GDP within Scotland is set. They would have to clear so many things and show so many hurdles. And of course, at the end of that, having finally done all that, make sure that Spain doesn't say, well, we don't want you because of the Catalonia problem. It may be Scotland never, ever join the EU. And then they'll be sitting there with a very hard border, because one of the rules is you've got to have that hard border. And you'd need visas to get in and out of England. And you couldn't just drive your lorries through England to go and sell stuff onto the continent, you know. No, that wouldn't be allowed, because you'd be passing through a non-EU country as part of your trade. You'd have to take them by boat all the way around and park them straight in. Very expensive and time-consuming. All sorts of problems. But, of course, the intelligentsia of the SNP, they don't understand this. And so, without looking at the problems, because the problems are too hard, they just stand there and they lie to your face and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to go somewhere else, blah, 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 and make it up as they go along. Because ultimately, that's all they can do. Don't believe a word of them. They lie to your face. And even if you're an SNP supporter, even you must see, even you must accept that EU membership, it just ain't going to happen. Not in your lifetime, not in your child's lifetime, probably not in your grandchild's lifetime. And yet they want to sell you this pup and you'll have to pay for it with huge taxes. Good luck. Thanks a lot. Bye.